Okay, so this is a recording of the Q&A, and Natalie, sorry, go ahead first.
That's okay. That's okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you for taking my question. And thanks for today's session. I have a kind of a technical question, and it's not that important, but my logical brain wants to kind of put these together. Lately, I've been seeing the importance of the power of the number 3, where it comes to like the Holy Trinity, or the id, the ego, the superego, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the body, the mind, the spirit. And like a lot of spiritual traditions have these trinities. Like even in Buddhism, there's the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and the Shila Samadhi Panya. So I was wondering today, as I was doing the meditation with you, I was like part A, part B in my true self was almost like a trinity.
3, correct.
And I just wondered if that was anything. And then also I'm in 12-step recovery, and there's 12 traditions that go with the 12 steps. And the first one is all about unity. And I'm starting to see how I've got to unify my internal system. I really have to start with the unity within, and unify part A, part B, and the true self, or whoever there's way more parts than A and B, of course, but is this kind of what we're looking for? And I know that if I feel safe and I feel confidence in the true self to manage the overall system, I'm probably not wording it exactly properly, but within IFS, there's the overall goal of, if my parts knew that the real self could manage and organize, then everybody else could take a break, or take a vacation, or just resign, so I'm gonna let you talk now. Thank you.
No, you got it. You got it. So all of it is spot on. So first, yes, the Trinity is the 3, 1, 2, and 3. And I did not bring in multiplicity at the moment, but you can always bring, in reality, sometimes there are more than one, okay? Like there are more than 2, because conflict is not one or the other. There could be one and there are 2 on the other side, or 3 on the other. They team up, right? Parts, they team up. And the importance is exactly what you said, is about bringing your awareness, because you are blended by design with your parts when you don't do the work, which means that how they felt then is how you feel now in yourself when you connect to it. Okay, that's how in the beginning when you connect to a part, you feel angry or disappointed or sad or afraid or whatever, because you're blended. But when you when you start to look at it from a very different emotion, okay, and then you hear it differently, and then they start to talk, and they talk about, why did I started it, how did it begin, etc., etc. They talk about themselves, okay, and you have a kind of deeper understanding, because you're also asking, what are your fears? Now those questions have never been asked at all, because you have been living in the emotion that they have been when they went through it. Okay, so absolutely, as you go towards doing this work, or doing the work with your parts, is that you start to unblend, which means you kind of look at them objectively, hear them out, and then you start to ask them, saying, what needs to happen for you to go back to your old portfolio of where you were in the beginning? Okay, that's when you do the healing, especially, and you realize that they very quickly want to go there, because they understand that you actually are able to sustain yourself. And so this is the process. You got it right. And so you work one by one. Sometimes you have many people and many parts. It doesn't matter. The number of parts is not a indication of anything, actually. I mean, Big Shorts, he talks about that as well. Okay. But it's the fact that as you unblend and you understand from different parts, you will see that the one that were conflicting, in many cases, they conflict because they are both protecting from the same issue. Okay, and so at the end, yeah, you work through that, and then there is no more conflict, because the conflict was that they had something that they wanted to protect you from. Make sense? Okay, got it. Yes, next one with the raised hand. Go ahead, my dear.
Thank you, Dr. Manu. I'm very, very new to this IFS, and I'm also in a program, 12-step program for addiction substances.
Okay.
Been in a couple of years and starting to think straight. I've got two questions. What came to me was that in my program, I pray and meditate in the morning, and I also think about the 24 hours ahead. Now, I'm wondering if it would be helpful to me to bring my other parts of self in to agree about the day ahead to get things done throughout the day. Can I blend that into my program?
Yep. Okay, so what you do is the following. You bring your program. It's like you print your program in your head, and then you ask to. So you do that. So like you printed it out, and you and invite all your parts to say, come in, have a look at my program. Okay, and if anybody has any objection, because some of them will agree and some of them may not. Okay. If anybody has an objection, let them come forward. Okay. And the only thing you have to say, if too many of them are coming, saying one by one, so please, can you stay back? Okay, I hear you. And then you connect to it, feel it in your body, understand how you feel towards it. You may feel angry that why are you objecting to my, or etc. So just be aware of how you feel towards it. And you have to keep breathing into that area till you feel curious or compassion. Okay, this is key. Because if you stay angry, then you will probably get nothing from it, because it'll look at you saying, okay, you're already judging me, I'm not telling you anything. Okay, and so see if you can get to that place of compassion, or even curiosity is good. Okay, and let it answer to you, saying, okay, what do you want me to know about you? What are you afraid would happen? Only those two questions. Okay, that's two questions. And you say, I'm noting it down. So you take your, when you work on this, just make sure that you're taking notes, just so that you're not appearing superficial, because these are parts of you. They'll observe you. They know what you're doing. Okay, so just take notes of their whatever they're saying. So what do you want me to know, and what are you afraid of? Okay, and then you say, thank you, I got it. And then go back to the same agenda and saying, is there anybody else who has an objection to my next 24 hours? Okay. And if somebody else comes up, same process. And keep doing till there's nobody who wants to say anything. Now, this formula, which actually I'm telling for your agenda, you can apply to anything. Anything. You want to go for a treatment, you do the same. You want to go for a date, you do the same. Okay, exactly same. You're meeting a guy or a girl, doesn't matter. Before you go, ask your inner system and listen to every objection inside of you. And some of them could be very serious because, for example, take the example of date. Somebody, you could have a trauma and will say, I'm afraid that you're going to get hurt again. Now then, you understand that you have to work with that part. So you can promise it, saying, I know how to do healing through IFS. I can do healing of the trauma. And then is it okay that we go ahead? And so it's like you have this internal system which is there for you. But when you don't hear it out, then what they do is they come in the middle of your, so if you put an agenda out and you're going for a meeting or whatever you're doing, you will hear voices that are talking against it and saying, wow. So it's the same part. But because you heard them in the morning and you heard their fears, you heard their concerns, you took note of them, okay, and you would do something about it, they just kind of back away unless they feel that you should not do something, and then they don't back down. But again, it's again something that is to protect you, okay? Because if you go against, because your inner system has to know that you have enough self energy to be able to sustain where you are going into. That's what its only concern. Otherwise, it pulls what they call the firefighter. There's a part in all of us which is like the ejection seat. So it'll pull that thing off, and then panic attack is exactly that. It's an ejection seat. It's like you feel palpitation, things coming, etc. in certain situations is because the system has pulled an ejection seat and it wants you to run from there. Make sense?
Yes, thank you. My other quick question was it normal then for me to feel a completely different range of feelings? One was excited when they made a great truce, and the other one was in grief. It was afraid that it would disappear forever or be gotten rid of. Is that normal?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
sensations, different sensations to go along with them.
Yeah, absolutely normal. Because this is how that part of you experienced it. And so when you get a sensation is because you connect to it, okay? And the reason to ask you to always breathe into it, take the time it takes for you to understand it, and then breathe into being curious or compassionate, okay? And then to ask the next question, which is, what are you afraid would happen? Or what needs to happen for you to relax? That question, it gives you a lot of action points. It tells you, do this, do that. Like the example I gave for myself with the medication. That's what happened because I did exactly this. And I listened to the two, and then they agreed, and I absolutely had no side effect of the medication because my medicating, the other part, which doesn't like medication, actually said, yeah, it's the right thing to do. In these circumstances, we agree. All of us agree. And done.
Thank you, Dr. Manu. And the final very, very quick question was, can you recommend a sound meditation? Because I meditate daily and I've only really got into meditation and spirituality, to be honest with you.
Okay. So what are you, when you say sound, what do you mean? You want to listen to a meditation, which is, or listen to a sound? Or frequencies?
Frequency, because what I just experienced was excitement, sensation in the feet, grief in the stomach, and aching around the head. So I love tones always made me feel certain ways, and that's what I'm asking. Maybe there's a sound meditation or a frequency I should always listen to, maybe.
So there are a couple of frequencies that are quite interesting. So 432 hertz, 528 hertz. Okay. So if you go into YouTube and you ask for example, for your your second center, no, your first center, or the feet, whichever center you're talking about, and ask for 528 hertz or 432 hertz, you will get specific music that has been designed for that, and just see how it feels to you. Secondly, we did some meditations for each of the center, okay, some time ago, and if you join the WhatsApp group, I will post there all the ones that we have done, so you can listen to them, see how it feels, because in the meditation that we have done, it's both the frequency of the sound, which is at that center, plus it's spoken on top. Sometimes it depends which resonates to you. Okay.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
most
you
welcome.
so much. And
Thank you.
very much for answering them. Is it normal? This is the final one now. Is it normal for me at nearly 50 years of age with having, I didn't realize how much trauma I'd actually had, to feel very childlike? Is that normal to
This is
feel?
good. This is good, huh? Yep. I
Okay.
started my journey of healing my traumas when I was 50, 48, 49, so don't worry.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're
you.
most welcome. Okay. So next one, go ahead. You've raised your hand. And I'm just going to also look at the questions in the chat. I will respond that as well. Okay. Okay, let me read the question, then I will come back to you. Okay, so today I witnessed my fearful inner child, angry teenager with two opposing outlooks. I heard both states with curiosity and without any judgment. There was a lot of detachment from me, from the observer me. Is it good? There was also not much compassion, but just an understanding. Is that a good start? Yep. Okay, so absolutely. So uh, remember, some of these parts uh, have been in that state for maybe 30, 40 years. And we have looked at them always from a place blended with what they went through, which means in anger or in disdain, etc. And sometimes your protectors actually keep you away from the traumas because they want to protect you. And they actually exile them. I mean, they really put them out so that you never have to even look at that. And that's what happens with when you sometimes feel detachment, is because part of you has actually, to protect you, has put you away from somebody that caused you, or something that caused you a lot of harm. So in the beginning, you may feel like that, which is okay. And that's why in the meditation while you were in, I asked you to tell them that you're going to come back. And I will, of course, give you a follow-up exercise, which is I just want you to keep going back to them every day, just the two of them, because you had two. And if more come up, it's okay. You can repeat the same process because now you know how to do. Okay. Just go back to them, stay with them, and remember, you have not to judge yourself or them, but see what comes out from your conversation with them and what meaning it makes, because the meaning, it's those moments where you understand and you create a meaning inside of you that they start to feel that now you have a very different energy towards them. Okay, so it's a good thing. And if it's, that's why, Dick Shorty always talks about that, saying start with curiosity, because curiosity is a kind of neutral emotion, right? It's like, I'm curious about you, right? So it doesn't have to go towards love and towards compassion, because sometimes if a part has been very hurt and has been kept like that, asking just suddenly to become compassionate is a bit of a system, and the self rejects it and say, no, I don't want to. So it's okay. Start with curiosity and keep going back. There is so much importance given to just keep going back. And trust me, it takes 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't take long. It's 10 minutes of your time. You can do while you're walking. You don't have to go into sit down state, etc. You just have to connect because you already know which is A and which is B. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so there's another question. Both sides want the same outcome. Wow, that's beautiful. Both my scared inner child and defiant teenager want the same thing, not to be abandoned. But their approaches are absolutely contradictory, hence the internal conflict. You got it. So now what I recommend to do, and that's what I said also in the session, so you let them know, is that what you do is you connect to that and go to one of the IFS session and just run the healing. They will both point you to when you got abundant, because it has to do with trauma in early childhood, and that's what Dick Schwartz also says, that most of the time the conflicting parts are actually protecting from the same trauma or same thing. They appear exactly as you got it. Okay, that they appear to be conflicting, but just because you connected to them and you asked them the same question and you understood their fear and understood a bit where they come from, now you can go and heal the trauma. And both of them will get freed from wherever they are stuck. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to put the links to the WhatsApp group. Sorry, I was supposed to do that. Okay, here you go. So there is 2 groups. One is a WhatsApp group, another one is a oh no, sorry, I posted the wrong thing. Apologize, cut and paste. Issue. Okay, here it comes. Okay, so these are the 2 WhatsApp and Telegram group. So you can go to either of them, whichever you are connected to. Okay. Okay, so this helps me connect others. My mother, for example, when I was young, she could be very caring, but could get angry and harsh with me. Different sides are getting triggered, exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you have raised hands. The first one on the left, do you want to go first? Brooklyn. Yeah.
Hi, this is Brooklyn. I did put a question in about my solar plexus not having
Ah.
one. That's one of my questions. I can't create internal boundaries. I don't have any defenses against people, physically, emotionally, mentally. I feel like literally a skeleton. It's just inside guts blown out with no internal or external boundaries, having to learn how to create them, but they're not innate. Like it doesn't exist in me. Creates difficulty for me. No self-regulation, dysregulation from it, I believe, and also will create challenges for me in relationships. I'm also an SRI cult survivor, and I don't have any parts talking to any. Like this is shut down. Like
yeah, they're all shut down. They are very shut down. Yeah.
And I'm very involved with this 12-step group, and like I see all these people making progress. And I know we're not supposed to compare. For where I came from, I did well. But like I just can't even finish a 4-step. There's so much conflict going on inside of me that I don't know that nothing's working.
Okay, so can I recommend you something else, which is because what your system wants is unconditional love, because there is and that love has to come from outside for you to even start to believe that the love exists. And Does it make sense? Does it resonate?
You mean like seeing love in relationships? I don't mean romantic, like, I
No,
don't
no,
know.
love towards you.
People demonstrating love toward me.
Unconditional. Strangers, people you don't know. People just come and hold you mentally.
Most of what's in my life mirrors my family of origin, governmental systems that re-abused me, re-traumatized me because I'm not able to keep a working gainful employment from the abuse. And so I'm dealing with a lot of personalities that represent my family of origin, and there's no love there.
There you go. There you go.
Like I'm attracting the exact wrong type of people in my life
There you
out
go.
of circumstances.
And so the reason you don't feel parts, as you say, is because they're so afraid of opening up. They actually keep you. The fact that they do not let anybody access them is because to protect you. It's just is a how do you call the last straw in your system, which says I will not allow her to even open a bit because she's too vulnerable. And so, but you do need a bit of self energy to be able to. It's like you need some kind of inner generation to start to create that place of some corner inside of you which feels love in itself. It may be a very little part, but it's just a bit. And then that one is the one that you leverage to grow. And so I would send you, if you're okay, and I know some people here are part of that group. It's a group that we run. We just give what we call healing meditation to people that are, and there are a bunch of people every day that come together twice a day and just work with people that are absolute strangers and give them love energy. And you just come and you just receive. You don't have to do anything except receiving. And as you receive repeatedly over a period of time, and again and again and again, there's a dent that creates because you start to feel being loved by strangers that have nothing to do with any of your programs or any of the things that you're bringing in, and they just only give. They don't ask anything in return.
Okay, yes. Yes, I'd like that.
Okay, so I'm going to post a link to this group. You can just book yourself in. Okay. I know I said no promotion, but this is actually just it's a group of actually pure love. And I'm just going to post that. You can just book yourself in and just be there and just come regularly every week, once a week. Just show up
When is it? How often is it?
twice a day. Twice a day.
So I just press the link. What time?
It'll tell you the two
Oh,
timings.
okay. Can I ask you one more thing, or do you need?
Of course. No. Go ahead, my dear.
Okay. So, I have a severe codependency to another. I think I've trauma bonded with a friend of 35 years. It's no sexual, but I'm over responsible caretaker. He's got a developmental disability, and I'm a physical mess. Um, and so, kind of like I helped him. We filled in each other's blanks, but the relationship is killing each other because we become a burden, and no one in the outside community can help us. Like there's no supports for either one of us. And I need to get out of it because this man needs so much help and I need so much help, but we're wrong for each other. And it's like, I get so close and I can't leave. And I get so close to caretaking and I can't leave. And I can't make that, like, I've left other people, but I can't get out of this. I'm stuck.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Is he willing to work on himself or not at all?
that's he will say to me when he needs my help, I'll say it's not fair unless you go into a program and get some help. And then he will work on himself or attend a meeting. And then when he doesn't need my help, it's, I got a soccer game. So the answer to me is, I don't see a real commitment from him, but he also may not be capable because of his disability.
So give him the same program as I said to you.
Okay.
And if he comes in, shows up, and he comes in for 3 months, 6 months, 4 months, and you do the same, I promise you something in your life will change.
Wow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. And keep and thank your system, even if you feel there's no self. Still thank it, because it allowed you to stay for an hour. It allowed you to come into this Q&A and ask the question. So it is there. Okay. So just thank it. Just say thank you, because you allowed me to be here, because it could have in 10 minutes said, eject seat, get out of here. I swear, I promise. Okay, so just thank it, because I see there's and all you need, sometimes all you need is that one. I don't know, we have a saying in our culture saying you need a leaf to save sometime a leaf can save you from drowning. And that's how our systems are. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
I'm not minimizing your burden that you are carrying at all. I don't want any of your parts to feel that they are not relevant. Absolutely they are. But all you're looking for is a straw, this little leaf on which you can climb up and then breathe. And as you start to breathe, you come up to your, it's like now it's below the nose, so then it'll come to your throat, and then slowly you come down. And they all want to be free, all of them.
Could you post it again? It went off the chat. It's hard for me to read. I don't even have good eyeglasses to read it.
Okay, I have your name. Are you in the WhatsApp group?
No, I'd like to
Okay.
be.
Okay, so I will post you both. So wait, let me post you first the link, so you can just click on the website and you can open in your browser, so you can keep it. Okay.
I don't know. My eyeglasses aren't good.
I will take your name.
All right,
I will
thank
find you.
you.
You want me to? I can email you. I think I will find you and email you.
Can I give you my email address? I'm like not even on the screen. I'll
Yeah.
text you my email address.
Yes, please do that. Send me, and I will send it to you. But I took
Okay.
your name. I will send you both the information.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Okay. Next one. Do you want to go with the raise hand?
Yeah, I'll make it really quick. I had a long question, but I think I'll refrain from that. We're over time. The short question I have is, I could have looked up YouTube for the frequency of love. Get it from you, right? Because there's a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. I don't know whether, what is trustworthy and what is not. What is the frequency, Manu, that can help open my heart chakra? Because one of the things I've discovered about myself is I'm so emotionally transactional, right? If I did well, I got praised for it. If I didn't do well, I got whacked, right? So it's hard. It's actually kind of a little funny now when I look back, think about it. But then, but it, on a serious note, I realized that I'm sort of carrying on the same legacy that I got, right? So I want to cut that. I want to cut that and maybe generate love, maybe feel the love and then generate the love. You mentioned to somebody else that, maybe you should feel unconditional love and from strangers as a, I want to feel that love and then I want to radiate that love and break this emotional transaction that constantly happens.
Okay, so I hear many things, but I will just make you, I'll just give you a few elements. Of course, you can hear and you can find on YouTube and you can test frequencies. But the thing, so those are aids, they help. Okay, absolutely. But what I hear is that you have these conflicting parts here inside of you. These are like, you put the question and then both of them just came up and started speaking. Okay, just now, as you were speaking, I heard two parts of you that were speaking. And what you do is you do the same exercise till you can find, you can change your sentence because you use a sentence which is called "I'm very transactional," so which means you're judging yourself as something bad, okay? And so that whole dynamics is your solution to opening your heart. So keep working on it till it dissolves, and it will dissolve. It's bound to dissolve because see, one of the thing I ask at the end is share your vision. Okay, right? That was a question. And in your vision, you say, I want to open my heart. And you keep repeating, I want to open my heart. So your inner system knows that, okay, this is where he's going. Now, they will all come up because they all want to get out of where. It's exactly the same for the previous one, the previous speaker who spoke as well. Same thing. Okay. That's why you keep coming back. Okay. And so just use the intention or what you want, a vision, and say, all of you who have something that is in opposition to that, come up. I want to have a conversation with you from a place of love, from a place of compassion. In the beginning, curiosity. Go deep inside understanding, create meaning for you. And for example, they say, my mother, I got this from my mother, I got that from etc. Well, there is a story there. So there's a little one which got whacked many times that needs healing because he's still stuck there. It looks like a part of you is stuck in the whacking because it's not the whacking, it's what it did to you. Okay, what you're to go through. Okay, as a consequence is what is still there. So use one of the IFS session to heal a trauma and go there and heal the boy. As the boy heals, you feel love for yourself. This, when we say compassion for your parts, this is all you. It's not outside. The outside is reflected in you. So there's a part of your mother which is sitting in you, and that's why you look at her, but you are looking at you. You're not looking at your mother. You're looking at you, and you're looking at from a place of what? Either fear or anger or hatred, etc. So, which means that you have hate and or anger for yourself. Okay, and if that is a predominant thought process, how can you open your heart? Because this is sitting here, right? So that's why the conflict. So yes, you can hear a frequency from outside, no problem, but that will not resolve this. That's my interpretation, and I may be absolutely wrong. I'm not at all an expert on everything. Okay, I just have 10, 12 years of experience of this work. But my understanding is that works well when this is resolved inside. So then the frequencies do its magic. Otherwise, your inner system, which is
Yes.
sometimes it starts to hate music because it kind of conflicts with inside. Okay, it can. So I would say, if I would give you a recommendation, you have already the breadcrumbs. They are already coming up for you because you've been asking this question for a few weeks, right? You sent me a message before and said I gave you a meditation of opening your heart, right? And I don't know what it did for you, okay? But if it didn't do a lot, which is, and I absolutely understand that, it means that is your protection mechanism. It cannot allow to open.
Yeah.
This little one is so afraid. So it's saying, no, love, no, don't allow to open the heart. You will get hurt. Okay, so do that, and then absolutely use the music. So it works in conjunction.
Wonderful. Very good. Thank you, Banu. Really appreciate it. Very grateful.
Most welcome. Most welcome. The use of one of the IFS session. This session you posted somewhere. Yeah. Yes. So if you come into and subscribe, if you get into the channel, there is a channel on YouTube where everything gets posted. Okay. And if you're coming in new, so when you receive the recording, what you do is you go into the recording and you'll see all the ones. So the one I'm referring to is an IFS session to heal, which is called, actually it's an IFS session to do healing of a trauma. It's a very specific session. So what you do is if this, when you do the conflict and it shows your trauma, you run that session. There's a part where it says healing trauma. Just go into that, take this there, and it'll take you to the little one and bring out whatever has to be healed. And then you come back to keep doing with these two conflicting parts. Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Oh, I will take your name then. Cheryl, go ahead.
Oh, hello. I'm here.
Yes.
I'm taking copious notes with everything that everyone is saying because I can identify with quite a lot of it. Well, most of it actually. I have been suffering from a lot of panic attacks and anxiety about a decision I have to make, and it's to do with whether or not to leave my troublesome family and go to someone else. But the someone else, I'm afraid there's something I'm afraid of, very afraid. I can't put my finger on it, but I feel as though I'm being manipulated and coerced, like up the
other side.
Not me.
Yeah.
I'm in a situation where there's quite a lot of toxicity in the family. I'm also on a 12-step program for alcohol abuse. I'm okay at the moment. I've quite a lot of years behind me. However, my son is kind of, I believe, needs help, refuses to take any. And there is so much tension in the family, in the house, in my marriage. And it's been like that for years. And for a long time, I felt on the floor with it all. And I guess what you could say, somebody I knew from years and years ago popped back into my life. And for the last 4 years, I've been in this trauma over what to do about it. I haven't been able to solve it. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm unsure about this individual. because I was very hurt by him in the past, very hurt. It's just the way he was. He wasn't horrible or anything. Well, he just was absent, if you see what I mean. But that's a long story. And now he has totally changed. He wants me in his life. He wants me there with him. But I have this anxiety about it, deep anxiety. I can't get over it. It's there. And I've tried, it's created this conflict because neither situation feels right. My current family situation or this other option. Forgive me for calling a person an option, but and you know, I feel okay other than I've got this awful heartache all the time. There's a lot of guilt, and there's all this stuff coming up in my mind, and I keep flipping back to childhood memories. And that a previous lady you were talking to about unconditional love. I've also taken therapy, and it's kind of been identified that I didn't get a lot of unconditional love as a child, because I was born into an emotional chaos, basically. And I became a dancer, and everyone pinned great hopes on me. Huge hopes, like I was going to be the next famous ballerina in the world, and that didn't work out. And my mother was a complete bitch to me over it. And I was terrified of my mother, absolutely terrified of her. She isn't with us anymore. Her dying words to me were, "You be a good girl." Sorry. Can you leave, please? Just a minute. No, give me 5 minutes. Go. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm always being interrupted. Yeah. So anyway, I have this trauma now, and part of me just wants to go away for escapism, you know, fantasy. And the other part is terrified, absolutely terrified. So I don't know what to do about it, really. And I'm not asked. I know nobody can give me a solution.
Yeah.
But
the solution,
I was in a terrible state about 3 years ago. I mean, I think I was going through what they would have used to call a nervous breakdown. I've recovered quite a bit from that, but I don't want to live like this really any longer.
Okay, so the fact that you keep coming up and you do a little bit every time, I'm back to the point about a leaf that wants to come out. Now, I think the exercise I was talking before is an exercise that you can do, but do it in your own. What you have to take care is that whenever you are talking to yourself, you are in a place of at least curiosity to who you talk to inside of you and compassion. Because if the voices that you keep on hearing are the one of sadness or anger or anxiety or panic, then as I was saying to the other lady as well, there is no self, and hence you stay in that place of, as you say, getting lost, etc. Now, and you don't give up. That's the only thing I would say. Don't give up. There's one more part that when you were speaking about it, and I just want to say it because it came to me to tell you. And this is for anybody which has been any kind of addiction of any kind. One thing is so important that, and this is absolutely paradoxical to what you hear in therapy or in many programs, with rehab programs, is the society doesn't like people. It's like you look down on people that are having any kind of substance abuse, generally, in the family or outside.
Mm-hmm.
But what Dick Schwartz actually talks about is absolutely reverse. He says you have to love the part of you that wants you to drink or to take a substance, because that part is the one that keeps you going, keep you away from pain. If it was not for the addiction, if it was not for the substance or whatever you took, the the only option remaining would be somebody would end their life. Okay. And so the substance or any addiction could be to internet, could be to porn, could be to whatever. If I think we talked about that. If you hear to the work done by Mate, what is his name? Gabor Mate, correct. He talks a lot about this, where he says that please love all part of you, including the one that makes you drink, including the one that makes you did that. Just love it and just say thanks to it, because that was the part that actually reduces your pain. With everything else missing from your system, okay, that to do. The fact that you start to love the part that everybody seems to have objectifying it already starts to change something inside of you. Just that simple act. Okay.
Yes, I know that Gabor Mate says that addiction is usually born out of trauma.
But so when you talk about I used to be or I am, how do you treat yourself when you say that? That feeling has to be of extreme gratitude to one thing. You save me, you save my life. Whatever everybody says, I don't care, but I love you.
Rather than it's shameful.
Rather than shaming it, because the more it gets shamed, that's why some of the therapies don't work, is the more it gets shamed, the more stronger it becomes, because it says that you're coming to fight it, so it becomes even more stronger, and it fights back. Whereas when you start, and it's not saying it, but sensing it. And there will be a lot of your parts that will not like it. You're saying, oh, because of alcohol, this happened, that happened, so this is not a good one. So you see, back to the conflicting part, this is a very good exercise to do with your inner conflict, because there is a lot of inner conflict, okay, inside of you, and it's got nothing to do with outside. It's to do with inside, especially against an addictive part of you, and could be addiction to anything. Okay.
Ooh. I just want it all magicked away, this pain, and it's not like
the magic wand is you. You are the magic wand, and it will never be outside. It will never be outside. Outside will come to help you, but you are the magic wand. This group or any group, any place you go, it's the magic wand is you.
Because I noticed that I like to I do push all of that aside, and I find it difficult to talk about what my problems are because I am ashamed of them.
There you go.
Not
And so,
not only the drinking thing that I, but
not only that,
my problem with relationships, with life. I'm ashamed that I'm not right, and I mean, I let my mother down, as I'm told, so was told, because I didn't fulfill her dreams for me, and there's a lot of heartache with me.
so start one by one to love
Mm,
each of these that you just said
mm,
brings you shame,
mm,
one at a time.
okay. Thank you, Manu.
Go ahead, Steve. You don't mind my saying your name.
Good morning. Hello, Diana, Phil, everybody.
Hey.
I'm in New York. About 5 miles away. It's amazing. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
$10 from the grocery store. Who'd have thought that? This is like amazing to me. I can't fix my life either, and yet I got headphones. It's amazing. I can see conflict that is someone else's as well. In other words, somebody just said they have conflict, and I'm like, that's somebody else's conflict. But we do inherit this. Not to find the language of this, it's very difficult. But for me, I hear this a lot. You say go into the anger without the labeling of it, and for me, I go into stuff like that, and there's simply nothing else that I could find sustainable, like no help. I've been on my own since I was a child. I'm not going to say I inherited it, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to say. It's all learned. It's all experiential. It's all conditioned. And so I was conditioned very early, like many of us. I don't feel bad, so I don't feel sorry for myself. But I can't find anything other than the helplessness. And then there's no other reach for me, like a bond or something to counter that. Like I don't even know what would be the opposite of that. I want to tell you one thing, since I was in therapy, and I left that because he was still not. It just he wasn't equipped. But, and that's okay. Well, not really, but toodaloo. I learned about safety a long time ago, and I don't, if you've never had it, you don't know what it is, type of thing. So he told me kind of like what it is, and I was like, that's what that is, like protection. I'm like, all right, wonderful, mazel. But I still think of safety sort of as like not being beaten or brutalized or tortured. That's not safety at all. That's not supposed to happen, type of thing. And I get that, but I still have I never experienced that in that way, like as a human. So, and I'm okay. I'm not stupid. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I have common sense and I have uncommon sense. Definitely traumatized in the trauma state all the time. But I can't find anything like outside of that anger. It goes back to like 3 years old, and there's like no, I don't want to get into the identity or anything, but there's no like help. There's no help. And then it becomes like more like I'm helping them. I think those were the earliest molding ideas. Yes, parentified and adult child and that whole crazy thing. And I could even get the separativeness on that, but I can't seem to find my voice vertebra. It never really came up, that self part. But anyway, whenever somebody says like, oh, go into the angry part, I'm like, yeah, I could. And there are protectors, and you see it pulls away, but I'm not feeling anything behind it. Like or to counter it, like there's no voice, probably because we didn't have one. You know, we were silenced very. Maybe there is a voice. I just don't know how to use it. But that anger also is very powerful. And I, neutrally speaking, and I go, that's not right, Stephen. You know, you can see when something's in it, it's not helping. So.
Yeah. So, and I think so. If I look at you from the time when you started, actually, there is a voice that is coming out and it's speaking for itself and is expressing. There's also some form of calmness that I feel, at least in your voice. Okay, I've been observing. Okay, and that calmness is coming from a part of you that is starting to have some sense of how do you call peace in itself. Now, the thing is that when there's a part of you which intellectualizes as well. Okay, so and I have the same. I have a very it's now calmed down, but it used to be so damn active when I was in the beginning of my process, and it had to create meaning of everything. If it doesn't do it, then it would outrightly reject. Okay, and so the way I look at it, Stephen, I understand you because I've gone through what you are talking about, is that at a point in time you just stop to think about all of that and just focus on, can you stay in a place of inner calmness for a suspended period of time? Okay, you know, and yes, you do get triggered, and if you can just pay attention to it and create a meaning to it and then come back to your place of calmness.
Whoa, you see that?
Okay.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that, you see, like I started to let that in. Wow, that's sorry. Whoa. I don't know, you know, I was gonna not make a joke, but you said, can you stay within a place of inner calmness? I'm like, without 5 active addictions, and I know it's, you know, crime free, but I'm still killing myself. But that's what, sorry, yeah, that's a little.
And it's okay to be sometime vulnerable to it, like you're feeling now, because it comes as like, but it's just piece by piece, step by step. And this feeling that you have now, this emotion you have, is that there's a part of you that knows what it means and knows that it can get there, and sometimes gets frustrated that why am I not going fast enough, because it appears to be theoretical and can we, but that's something which is far more complex in the sense that there is something that you do or be in your environment which is also gift to others, and so it's, how can I say,
I
when
don't
you are
feel
in
that.
yeah,
I don't
I know,
feel
and
that. I hear that, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
yeah,
I
I know,
appreciate
I know,
it with
I know,
them.
I know. I know. I was going. That's why I wanted to finish my sentence, because I knew you would react to that. Because that's what I used to. When somebody told me, I did the same reaction. And the thing is that because we are in a survival state, we do not even understand our when you start your process of making changes into your life, okay, and you're focusing in self, there's also interaction with others. You do impact other people, but since you're only focusing on you, you can't see it yet, okay, because it's not in your focus. But you are making that. Is when you cross over the bridge and you go to the other side, and then you look back and you see all the things that you actually did right for many people, but you are doing your journey. Okay, so I understand. So okay, stay with. So forget that statement for the moment. It'll come back at a later point. Okay,
I think I'm ashamed. I think I'm ashamed, which is, and this happens rarely. And when I speak, it's usually imagery or metaphor. I don't mean it literally or not psychodynamic. I don't do that. It confuses me. I like to feel stuff or like hear it. But I think I'm ashamed of the house where I come from. I don't mean, yes, there's a physical house, but but I don't mean that. I
The
mean
home.
the house.
The home. Yeah.
Our
Home.
house. Just
Mm.
like a shame from like 1 year old that came up, and it's not a thinking thing. It's just, and I go, how can a kid know the difference of that? And I'm like, they can't, but there's still some sense of us that goes.
They do know. They do know. They do know everything. And so just stay in that place saying, if I can find the place of being in my inner peace, and I extend that, because you are changing, there is no doubt. Otherwise, your system would have done eject seat long ago, okay, much long ago, okay. So the fact that you keep coming back is because there's a part of you that has this, honey drops, a bit small, but it's taking it. So you are doing your stuff at a pace that is right for you, and there cannot be any judgment of one pace to the other pace. Absolutely not, because we are all coming from very different places, and it's absolutely normal to have. We do get kind of, okay, that one, I think somebody was mentioning that I go into this 12 step and I see other people progressing, and then suddenly I feel bad about myself. But this is I really, in your journey of you, there's only you, and you are the one with the magic wand, and all
Well,
others will come along in your journey to do whatever they have to do for you, but it's you who is with the magic wand.
it's so crazy, and I'm so empathic. I don't want to keep you. When I say I'm so empathic, I never knew what that was, and not trying to, but it's an energy. Even as humans walk 40, 50, 30, 60 years old, it's a descriptive, non-descriptive, descriptive thing. You can't see it with your eyes. I could. It's trauma. It's trauma. It's core. Everybody has the core stuff in different abandonment, trust, betrayal, loss, violation, these things. It's a nonverbal thing, and something in me just sucks it up. And I'm a talker. I try to change that. Like, I like talking to people until they kind of vibrate, and I go, it's like, ouch. And they're so, ego. They're all in ego. And it's just not congruent for me usually, which is another very confusing thing. Very confusing. Like how one presents themselves is not really, unless they're healthy, I would say. It's very tricky for me. Very tricky.
Keep going.
But thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, my dear.
Go ahead.
Hi, Manu. I wanted to tell you I've been doing, after last week's session, I didn't feel so great, and now I feel much better, and that's kind of the common theme with me. In the case of, you were giving an example of, it sounds like a lot of people are having different things that they were experiencing that they're trying to, it's odd, I can't speak right now. It seems like there's a lot of trouble with trying to intellectualize the process, and I am certainly somebody who does that too. But I realize I had a pretty big epiphany after I didn't feel well, after I got sick last week, and after I received your recording of the session that you sent to me specifically. And I realized that the timing aspect, that a greater mind was almost planning it, plotting the time. And I couldn't have plotted that out consciously, but there's like a lot of power in, I have a lot of issues with my family regarding father figures, mother, all that. It's almost like I had to walk into the trauma, but in a mild form, and allow it to devour me. And it's this constant process that I have to keep on doing that. And in the process, I realize it's more important to be strong than safe, if that makes sense. That initially I look for like a lot of protection, right?
Ah,
But
okay.
there's, when you're strong enough, you don't really need the protection anymore. It's the, instead of looking for love, you kind of are, accept the fact that they can't really give it to you. And it's kind of my job almost to love them and find love elsewhere. And what I find is that something like what you sent with the morphogenic field, that kept me busy all week, reading about it, researching it, building the model, tearing it down. And so that then becomes a part of, I don't know how it's going to play out in the long run, right? I don't know how it's going to play out, but that research allowed me to open my mind wider, so then I care less about what they say. And then as a result of me caring less about what they say, I can reframe it. Because you saying that last week and giving that information, if you had given that information a month ago, it would have just gone right past me. If you gave it to me today, it wouldn't have been useful, right? But it was the fact that you gave us that information, allowed me to do the research, and then afterward, I was able to see the experience through different eyes. And it's almost like everything, it's almost like all of the problems that we have is a miscommunication. And it makes me think that way, you know, what if all of it's just a miscommunication? And this idea of love, what if love to that person is not, they're just not capable of loving in the way that I want to receive it. So then I have to build new wiring for a new form of love. And I don't yet have that wiring, but I'm constantly upping it. You know what I mean?
You have it. You have it. It's just that it is the wiring exists. It's just that it has not yet found its footing because it is overwhelmed by other stuff. And as you, it's a little bit the previous answer. How can I open my heart, connect to a heart center? It's just that it's always there. You were born with it. That's why you seek it, but it's already there. It's just that it is clouded with many layers. And when you keep working on yourself, and you said something which is really important, is that you felt strong, which means self energy is building up, that allows you easily to go through looking at the trauma and saying I can act through it and go through it, and it's much less painful. It's not, it's actually it's far less. You fear it till you go through it, and your system doesn't allow you to go through it. That's why sometimes some of the traumas are not touchable yet. But as you start to work through it, remember your system. That's why the vision is where you want to go, right? And your system hears you. It wants to help you get there, and so it says, "Okay, this one is next. This one is next. This one is next." So it brings to you the stuff. Now, some of that,
Yeah.
and that's where it becomes a bit more not linear and not logical in this logical sense. It throws you topics and stuff which then later on start to make sense to you. I mean, for example, morphogenic field, when I learned it, I went to the seminar of the guy in London, and it was nice. It's a very nice, charming presenter and a very good, interesting guy. I did not make so much meaning of it at the time. It was way back, about 10 years ago, 8 years ago. It's just when I was doing a lot of other work, Joe Dispenza work, and then later on when I started doing IFS, etc., I realized the power of that belief system, because at the end it's a belief system, right? Which has some, if you are intellect, you want to go into the science, you can go into it, but it leaves you with the belief system into your place, and then you can create meaning. And I'm making that point is when I was doing tuning fork, I was hearing voices which were not mine; they came from the group. Now, but when you understand morphogenic field, you make meaning of it. It's not. It doesn't. It's not that. I mean, I would never use the word I'm channeling something. Not at all. It's just that I'm connected to a field, which gives me information. I just do not filter it and say it out, and it works through that. And and I could literally hear age and the feeling, and I
Well,
knew somebody was going through that and had to heal that today.
you know, when you say that, Manu, in listening to everyone and listening to Steve, and it's very difficult, especially I heard Cheryl say she was a dancer, and then you hear Steve and you could tell that he's trying to process this constantly, right? And it's very difficult if you happen to be a naturally ambitious person and to gear that toward this new way of thinking for me. Like, because it's almost like a lot of the times I want to use it in a very typical kind of Western way, and I realize it's just setting me up to then give that opportunity up over to somebody else. And it's like it's, for instance, with my family, right now I'm at doing research at a facility next to their house, and it's very difficult for me to, it would be very easy for me to be alone and to be doing this work separately. But I realize that would be easy, but it wouldn't be beneficial. And that it's not, there's something that's bringing me there. It's the field. It's literally a morphogenic field that is determining, but the ego is like, no, I want to look this way, or I want to do this way. But it's like,
And so you got this, and I think this is really the gist of the story, is that, and I know that when we are in the middle of a pain, it's always difficult. If you tell somebody which is, I lost my job I loved for 20 years, it went out of my hand. At that time, okay, if somebody would have told me that this is going to change your life, I would have punched the person in his face, really, because it would have been such a big slap on my face saying, I'm losing thing I've worked for the last 30 years of my life, and it's going away, and you're telling me that it's going to change my life. So it's very tricky to say to people that are going through pain that this is something that you okay.
Yeah.
So I give you another example. It again to do with my mother. So I lost my father 3 years ago. And I realized at the time of the loss that he was the only ally I had in my family. He's the only one who believed in everything I'm doing. Everybody else was against it. And I realized it at the time of his death, because when you look at your parents, you look at them together and you kind of don't differentiate one or the other because they appear together. And then suddenly you see two personalities and saying, oh God, okay, that was my father who was there and not my mother, because I suddenly heard different narrative coming toward me. And a year and a half ago, I had to go and live with her for 1 month. It was COVID. She had to get a surgery. And we were in the same room for 28 days. Same 15 or 20 square meters or 20 square meter room for 20 days. And because of COVID, everything was blocked. So I could not go out, etc. And that was the most transformative experience for me, because I had to go through all of that to understand everything that I went through. But I would have never got through that to have a different relationship and understanding of my mother if I had not been with her. So I'm back to what you're saying is that, yes, sometime conditions put you into a place and it's easy to escape. I could have gone away and not
Right.
gone through that, and which is what I could have done 12 years ago when I lost my job. I could have done exactly the same. Okay. But
Yeah.
somehow I chose this one, and I cannot tell you how many people have come into my path at these, I mean, systems and learning this and doing that and going through that. Without all of that, I would have just collapsed. But I had to go through it.
Yeah.
There was no shortcut. Now, why we do this group here is I want to make it not as long as it was for me, 12 years. I mean, 10 years, it's a bit too long. Okay, because I was going through literally a maze, etc., which I don't want anybody to do, and also want everybody to have access to it without thinking about how much money you have to pay, etc. So, but that doesn't mean that your journey will not take you through that path for you, because that's the right one for you.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I could tell you when we first started, the pain was, it really wasn't like anything I ever experienced before because it was so bad. It was, but I realized that I don't know if this is the point, but for me, my body got used to it or is getting used to it. And as it gets used to it, it's able to then reframe it. Yeah. So it's now I see it. I see clearly, like with my sisters, I see they're really, I've just totally told myself the wrong story for my whole life. And what I'm realizing now is what with this work that, can you hear me?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Because I'm going to pick up a book. I was reading something. I want to read it out to you loud,
Okay.
which is relevant to that. That's why I want to pick it up. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just it's I could tell that a part of the reason that we have all of these problems was because we were too closely blended, that we like the there is this like codependent dynamic, right? And I don't know if that's ever going to even go away, but at least I know it's there, and I know I'm figuring out what's actually mine and what's not mine, and that alone it's changing my family. I could see it. I could tell, you know.
Yeah, I was looking for a very nice part which Dick Shorts actually wrote in one of his books. I wanted to read it out, and which kind of simplifies what is saying, that as you resolve the conflicts inside of you, the outside conflicts no more matter anymore. They get quote unquote resolved.
Yeah, it's almost like I kind of feel like now I would have this problem getting close to anyone because my problem is that my entire life has been, my model of ambition and success has been tainted. And so the problem isn't them as much as the problem exists in the field, because that's just how my family related to things and I just accepted that. And if I don't change that field, I'm not going to change the relating factor.
Correct. And you are empowered, and you feel yourself empowered to change that field for you. And as a consequence, you start to see it changing around you.
Yes. Yeah. So it's incredible. Thank you so much. And the fact that in this work and you, I have the perception that you are outside of me, but the way that you say things at the right time and all of that. It's not. It's literally. It's not outside. It's
not. It's not. It's not a coincidence that there are the 19 people in this call now listening to it, or the ones that will open up the afterwards to hear it, to what you said, and create a meaning to it, and do something about it in their system. It's not coincidence at all.
right.
None
That
of
makes
it
sense.
is. Yeah.
No, thank you. And again, just Steve, like I notice, I hear a big difference. Like his voice is different. So that's a pleasure for me to witness too. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Hey, dog.
And you are no more orange color, icon. We see your beautiful smile, which is
Or green.
Exactly a beautiful smile.
Or blue.
Okay, go ahead. Back to you. Sorry, you raised your hand. If you want to ask a question, go ahead, my dear. Brooklyn.
So one of my most endearing parts is my short temper. So when I was trying to get into the website, like, I think it's a part. I've never had any patience, but it's like, I'm yelling and yelling, like I'm upset because I can't get into the website. It's unuser friendly, and it's really not. I couldn't even upload a picture. I don't have the skills or the material scanner to do that. And my part is screaming like, it's not just with this. It's just like almost, it's like a life or death errand. And if it doesn't happen now, then I don't like how I feel. It's like a feeling of intense anger.
Okay, so can we send love to you? Would you accept love now? And say to your part that we will find a way that you and all your parts are going to come into a coherence healing. Because that group is also run by me, so don't worry. I will make sure you're in, somehow or the other.
Well, I made all these appointments and then they canceled them out with a red line. And it's not just me. It's just like the website is unclear and I can't. My trigger, the Give Life to Life, the one you said where you make the appointments for love. My trigger is when something is unclear and I get like misinformation. I'm like in a fear rage attack. It's like someone just left me in the middle of a desert and just said, bye, get yourself home. It gets uncanny.
No, it's okay. We hear you, and we send love to this part, saying, yeah, we hear you. And no, not at all get rid of it. Why? Because it holds the energy of what happened to you, and it's just reminding you and warning you that it is happening again. So speak up for yourself, and that's what you're doing. So that's okay. And the thing is that you say to it, saying, I will be taken care.
Okay. Well, I was afraid to even ask you for help.
No, you did ask, so thank you. We love you for asking for help and for being clear. What was not working.
Would that be another part that's afraid to ask for help?
Yeah, of course. It just said it.
Well, I have too many parts. Can't we just invent a vacuum and we just take it all out?
Okay, one by one. That's why I say, you see, just the fact that you could come in and say what you said and you receive love back, and there's no, yeah, you're right. So we'll help you out.
Thank you. Okay, so this has been progress then. Maybe that's why it was supposed to happen.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Now you got it. The fact that you got it, felt it did what it did, is to tell you that that's what happens to everything. But then you didn't abandon it. You came back and you asked a question. And now that you receive support for it, how do you feel inside of you? Is there the anger still there?
Just two things going on. One, I'm amazed, and the other part of me that has been promised things with no follow through from all these agencies believes it's never going to happen. Like it's not going to happen. The trust isn't
Okay.
there.
Okay. So ask it. So if I will receive an email from Manu and I will be booked into a system, will you believe that this is changing for me? Ask it.
Okay. I don't know if it's a female or a male, but
Doesn't matter.
I think it's saying, I won't believe it until it works and I see it for myself.
Okay, got it. So ask it, okay, when you will see for itself, will you believe it then?
Yes, but then if a different situation happens with another person, the same thing will happen again.
Yeah, so at least will you believe that it can happen to others as well?
I know it can happen for others. I just don't believe it'll happen for me.
Yeah, so okay, so it's saying, I want to test you out. Fair enough. That's okay. Frank, yeah, you're right. Let's test out. Let's test with this one. But at least, are you able to change that belief that it can happen rather than it will never happen? Can you take that promise from it?
I don't think that part will let me do that.
No, ask it, saying, can you, if it happens with this one, would you change your belief that it can happen with others as well? We will test it.
Okay, I'll ask it. Silence.
Yeah, because how do you feel towards it? Are you curious or you are a bit skeptical towards this guy? Who's part of you?
I always have to have proof about everything and dot my I's
Yeah.
and cross my T's. I tie my camel to a tree. I just don't trust God. I didn't learn how to trust God, but I learned how to tie my camel to a tree.
Yeah, there you go. So, okay, step by step. So let's start with this one, okay? So what I want you to do is when you receive the confirmation, the email or whatever, and I will send you an email, okay? And when it's done, just go and talk to the part and just say, we got it.
Okay. Thank you.
Most welcome. Yes, sometime. So when you start working on stuff, the one which is the most difficult actually wants to come first because saying, okay, let's test this out.
Well, maybe that's the one that's causing me the most problems because people in 12-step programs, they say, why can't you just believe? Or, well, then something happens and that's magnanimous. Someone pays my rent for 4 months. And then
There you go.
it's not that, it's the quality, the lack of quality of life. So it's like going from one crisis to another, and then something happens where someone intercedes, but there's still another crisis. And until I get out of the whole crisis thing, the life, it has to change in order for me to believe, I think, enough, there needs to be that shift, that otherwise I always need proof of everything. It's because there's always another crisis, whether I'm creating it or some other people are creating it. I don't know if that makes sense. But
No, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm back to the point that one step at a time.
Okay, so am I hearing like the part that needed the most attention is the part that's coming up first?
Yep.
This is like really hard. This is the tough part.
No, it's okay. But it's okay. So go. I think Carl talked about it before, and it's okay. In the beginning, it may appear a bit daunting. It may, but once you get into it, and you keep doing small steps, mini steps, unless you intellectualize everything, which is okay as well. I'm not saying it's not nice. You will see that something in you shifts, or somebody will tell you that something is shifting in you.
Okay.
Most of the time, from when you go from extreme traumas like you are, okay, they are subtle.
So when I'm hearing, so that I can trust. The part that means, because when I come into 12-step program, they said God takes away what's killing you first. So that's kind of like what I hear. The part that needs to come up, that it needs the most attention, is going to come up first.
Yeah.
Well, that part is causing me a lot of distress anyway.
So see if you can. So if you accept that and say, okay, thank you. I understand I'm going through distress, but I'm grateful that you came up first so I can work with you. And then together, see, one thing that you will notice as you go step by step is the one that actually is on the appear for you on the wrong side actually starts to become your best ally because it becomes a guide.
Okay, thank you.
And it changes to become a guide. And because it becomes a guide, now you can go and ask it a question saying, what should I do next? Instead of, but that is a shift that you do after you work through it. Make sense?
Could you repeat that last part, the shift part?
Okay, so now when you think about this part, you feel angry or anxious about it, right? Oh, so it's sitting there and you are here. And so as you work with it and you kind of build a relationship with it and you heal it, unblend from it. So all these emotions that you feel towards it starts to go away, which is part of the work that you will do. The part which is actually a protector for you shifts his position to becoming guide.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I feel a little hope, actually.
There you go. Now this is you, yourself energy, what you said in the beginning. And it's just that tiny bit. It's like that drop, 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops. So can you thank it for being what it is?
Yes.
And notice how it changes.
It's silent, but a lot of the angst diminished in me.
In your system.
Yeah.
In your body. There you go. You do it your breath. You got it.
I call it fire rising, when the fire starts to rise and I get out of my body and it's like I dropped down, and I don't feel that level of angry angst anymore. Inner turmoil.
Good. Yeah. So keep thanking it for the rest of the day, saying, oh, thank you. Thank you for coming in, etc. Thank you for making me speak out. I'm grateful to you. Just as you are doing your stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You have a question, Cheryl?
Me. Yeah. Sorry, I got lost in Brooklyn Bronx. I don't know her name. In what she was saying.
That's okay.
Kind of resonant. I mean, it just means something to me. The business about thanking those parts, and because when I was doing that in the session, I didn't feel angry at all. I felt actually kind of a sad compassion in a sense. I wanted to hold like a child.
Good. That's
Yeah.
good. That's okay. That's good. That's compassion.
And in the past several weeks, I've had a crying baby that wants to be picked up and held.
It's please go into one of that IFS one where you go to the baby, you heal, do it through the process. It'll just run away from where it is stuck and come to you and just integrate with you, and you will feel so much change.
Yeah, well, the baby started smiling, so
there you go.
And then
so it's becoming friendly with you.
Yeah. But it's I get very muddled up. I've been going round and round in circles for so long.
No worry, please don't. This is exactly what takes you away from doing your work, because then you are now judging yourself and saying, oh, I'm a mess. No, you are the magician. Remember, you are one with a magic wand.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm beginning to feel like I can take care of me, and I haven't felt like that. I've always looked for someone else to look after me.
So thank your system to allowing you to do that. Just say thank you so much. I love all of you. Wherever you are, we have to work a lot. Yeah, that's okay. Even if
it's small,
that's okay. Doesn't matter. If you give energy, if you give thanks to it, it grows. Look, she was already just feeling that in 15 minutes. So that's how it is. And I'm back to the point. That's why I was saying the other day is the before that we all look for unconditional love because that got missed in the whole process. And the only example I have, I mean, it's is if you have pets at home, normally you have unconditional love from the pet.
I have a dog.
And when you see the dog towards you, that's unconditional love.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Just that. So that's what
the eyes.
The way they look at you. Even if you have just been angry to them and you've punished them 5 minutes after, they are just that's unconditional love. That's how it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Can I just ask quickly? The group that you were talking about, and you put the link in. Is it possible for anyone to join?
Yes. To receive a coherent healing, yes. Yeah. Just come in to receive. Yeah. Anyone.
Okay, lovely. Thanks.
About 16,000 people have received there.
Wow.
Over last 4 years almost.
Gosh, incredible.
Yeah. That's another story.
Oh. Amazing. I would
go
one
ahead.
day like to do something like this. Sorry, Steve.
No, go. You will, Cheryl. I promise you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
I just have a question quick. do you recommend feeling the emotion? Like really like, wait, what is your name? Cheryl just said,
Yeah.
you know, picking up the baby. And I could relate to, you know, whatever, you know, that's but the feeling, do you recommend like feeling that emotion even if you don't,
Mhm.
I don't want to?
Okay,
Well,
no, your system will not there, because then it'll say you're faking it. So then it, yeah, you will get to it when you're ready for it, is what I would say. You will
You know,
know
even
it.
if it's like empty, even if it's like empty or whatever, that's a feeling, I guess, or, you know, so you have to feel it.
So sometimes it's difficult for many people, but you do have that because you see it in the outside world. You can see, you see in the movies, you see into people interact. I mean, dogs is a very good one. Uh, if you are fond of pets, you know that feeling of compassion of because they just do it without having to do anything for
Okay,
them.
that's wow. Okay, that's hard but simple.
Yeah,
That's
it's and you can if you pet a dog, or you can also do with horses if you have access to horses. Horses are very good at
love
that.
horse.
Yeah, they absolutely can. You can stand, put a hand on your horse, and just make that sensation come to you.
Yeah, they're smart equine. They're smart being. They're smart sentience. Yeah,
Yeah.
in a good way. Okay.
Okay. I have a question here. Can morphogenic field relate to medical condition destabilizing while doing trauma work, as if everything is breaking down to rebuild itself? Yeah. Sometimes yes. But the only thing is that when you do trauma work from place of compassion and from a place of love for yourself, which is the process, then what does happen is, because the release of the trauma is gentle, so if there's an underlying medical condition, actually it may temporarily appear to escalate, because there's always a release of toxins when you release trauma and your system flushes stuff out. So you may, sometimes we feel like, you get sick or you feel a bit stuff going on after you do the release, but it's very temporary and it just goes back to normal. But what I've observed is that releasing of trauma after the initial peak of release, it actually calms down the system. So you're much more in calm state because that constant chatter is gone or reduced. So the question was, can morphogenic field relate to medical condition destabilize while doing trauma work, as if everything is breaking down to rebuild itself? But it's gentler. That's what I observed. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. You have one question, last question, and then we will close.
Thank you, Dr. Manu. Mine's really going to be so quick.
I'm not a doctor.
I
I'm
don't
not a
have
doctor.
many problems today in my active life. I've recovered from drug addiction and I'm going into study. Every part of myself, what I'm reading, and I get overwhelmed now, I focus and can on what I'm interested in. And one of them things is veganism. Another one is injustices towards children, people, adults, animals. What can I do when this fiercely overwhelms me that I am paralyzed in a multitude of feelings? Because some days I literally shut the door, because once you're awake and you know certain real truth, not my perception of the truth, when you know what goes on this planet. What can I do when I feel overwhelmed, Dr. Manu? Or am I being immature? Am I?
No.
I don't know.
No. Okay. No. The fact that you feel it. It is. I'm back to what I was saying, that if something does come up and it overwhelms you, actually it comes to heal itself. So instead of shutting it down or thinking it's not good and it's overwhelming my system, what if you say, okay, oh, you're coming. In the IFS language, they call it breadcrumbs or trailheads. Your system actually gives, it has been giving for a long time. It's just that we don't pay attention to that. Okay. And we shut it down and because it feels overwhelming, etc. And I have so many things going on and I don't know how to do. So instead of that, if that comes up, bring it in, understand your link to it, the fear behind it, what does it want you to know, etc. Because most of the time it's not your story, but it's a story that you have bought into and created into a belief system which is in conflict with who you are. And hence, you go in conflict with a belief that came from outside or something from your either in ancestry or from somebody else. And if it is overwhelming you, work with it, bring it in. You have the tools, okay? And but remember, you have to change your relationship with it. Okay, you have to change the way you feel towards it. When you look at it and you feel neutral about it, or even compassionate, and it is not your story, and it is somebody else's story, and then you are in peace. Now, from that place, you may take some actions about it. Okay, and you may do something about it for the society, or for your neighborhood, or for whoever you want to work, but you are not doing it from a place of anger, frustration, and this is completely wrong, da 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 da. You're doing it from a place of compassion, for love, and then it's not the same you. So activism is not a bad thing, absolutely. If there is a cause, for example, I am so passionate about the cause of why I'm run this group. It's because, but I could run it from a place of, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that, but I don't want to mean it, okay, in any way. But I could also run from an energy. Oh, I was cheated, and there are cheats, and people take money, and they re-traumatize you with this, and da 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 da. Okay, I can go with that story. And then if I come into this group and I have that energy here, none of you will be hearing me. You will run away after 10 minutes, because you will hear me ruminate my anger about something else, which has got nothing to do with what we do here in this group. So it's the same, okay? It's exactly the same thing, okay? So you can be associated to, for example, if there is something wrong going on with children, etc. Absolutely, it's a cause. But first, you have to change your relationship towards that cause inside of you, so you go into a place of absolute peace and love. Because if you go into a group that is doing work for children from a place of being angry at what is going wrong, etc., you're not going to help the children. Remember that story about empathy versus compassion. You cannot have compassion if you're angry about something. You can't. They exist. They're in your brain. It's from very different places. Okay, it comes from very different places. Okay, but if you are coming from a place of absolute compassion, the people that you will work with will see your compassion, and something in their life will change, because that's the intention. Okay, whatever is path you want to take. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Manu.
I'm not a doctor, by the way.
I'm sorry, I thought you were the doctor.
No, not at all. I wish I was. Maybe, I don't know.
We'll give you an honorary doctorate.
I love you, Lisa.
Can I just ask one quick question, Manu?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
What often I'll know, like an empathic part will know that removing my like emotional support for, if I change a pattern, removing that emotional support is going to be difficult for somebody else or perhaps a group of people. It's not right in all the time and how it's going to impact people, but I think that I've noticed like things that don't seem to be coincidences as to when I get better, something collapses in another person's life. How do you, there's guilt associated with that. I have a lot of guilt associated with that.
You have to work
do you
on
have
that.
any suggestion on, okay.
You have to look at the guilt and saying what is behind the guilt. You exactly just go there, find the story of the guilt, and ask those three questions is really the golden question. What do you want me to know about you? What is your intention about why this guilt, and what are you afraid would happen?
Okay.
And what needs to happen for you to change or be less? And from that question, what happens is, but you being in a place of compassion or curiosity, you understand the reason you have the guilt, which is sometimes has got nothing to do with the subject at all. It's to do with somebody that sometimes said something and then you picked it up, etc. And you say, wow, that doesn't make sense anymore. And you release it and then it's gone. Or it could be something which is a trauma that is sitting there. The way parts, or if we call them parts, but these things that come up to you and how they relate into your system is absolutely, you cannot even believe where they go from. So when I was working on my medical story, between taking medicine, not medicine, so when I started working, it said, you have to, your thing is not so big, it's not a big deal. Why do you have to take medication, etc. And then I could see the stress that was going on from outside. So then it went in, it said, the reason you do not take medication is because your father did all 50 years, 60 years of homeopathic. In our house, there was never any medication that came. And so this is why you have a tilt towards that. But then this is the price you pay for the other side. And so when you do this, you come to a point where you say, wow, I didn't know that it came from there. Okay. And that's what it is. And so what happens is when you start to go into that inner voice from a place of compassion on anything that shows up, it just will take you to a place that you feel, wow, okay, that it is. And the moment it is there, the whole thing just collapses, the emotion or whatever, the guilt to there, it just collapses. It's saying, oh yeah, I understand. And that's it. So,
Got it.
everything is not based on trauma. Something is based on a belief that you picked up from somewhere. And when you get that insight, you say, oh, okay, shifted. It's shifted. Yeah, so there's you got it, Carl? Yeah, makes sense?
Thank you. Makes sense.
Okay, so the question is, what are the three golden questions asked for guilt? So, first connect to it, okay, because it comes from somewhere. Once you connect to it, you ask it, what is your intention? Guilt, what is your intention? Okay, so it will tell you, I'm coming because of that, etc. What are you afraid would happen? And what needs to happen for you to relax and be less present? So those three questions spoken from a place of compassion in you towards that guilt, which is what you have to work in the beginning. That's why that thing about breathing, because sometimes you just don't get it immediately. So you calm down, you breathe into it, and then you get to a place of curiosity. And then those questions. And you listen, you write them down. 90%, you get something and you say, well, that makes sense. And it's no more there. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks,
And
Wendy. Thank you.
hey, most
So
welcome.
again, what is your intention? What are you afraid will happen? And what do you need to relax? That's it?
What needs to happen for you to relax?
What needs to happen? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful afternoon, evening. Thank you for all your feedback and your participation. And see you next time.
Thank you
Gracias.
so much.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you, Manu. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.
Bye, Paul.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Cheryl. See you, Rav.